Hello everyone, and welcome to Lesson 3 to 6, titled Real-World Applications of Security and Cryptography. In today's session, we're going to explore how security and cryptography show up in our daily lives, in public institutions, and in areas of growing concern for society. Whether you're a policymaker, a civil servant, or an elected official, understanding how these technologies impact citizens is essential in shaping the policies of tomorrow. Let's begin by thinking about how much of our lives are now online. We check our bank accounts using apps. We send sensitive documents over email. We pay taxes through government websites. Our children attend school through digital platforms. And increasingly, public services, from healthcare to voting, are managed through digital systems. Now, imagine for a moment what happens when these systems aren't secure. If someone hacks a hospital's database, patient records could be stolen or changed. If a government system is breached, tax data, voting information, or national security files could fall into the wrong hands. And if our communications can be intercepted, citizens lose their right to privacy. This is where security and cryptography come in, not as abstract academic fields, but as real-world tools that protect our digital lives. So, let's break down what these terms mean and how they're used in ways that affect your role as a public leader. Understanding security in practice. Let's start with the word security. In the digital world, security means protecting systems and data from unauthorized access, use, or destruction. It's about making sure that only the right people can see or change important information. A basic example is a password-protected file. Only people with the right password can open it. But today, we go much further than passwords. We use techniques like multi-factor authentication, which requires users to prove their identity in 2 or more ways, maybe a password and a fingerprint, or a password and a code sent to a phone. Security also includes protecting systems from attacks. This is where tools like firewalls, antivirus software, and network monitoring systems come in. These systems watch for unusual behavior and stop harmful actions before they cause damage. In public administration, this might mean protecting a city hall's internal servers from being accessed by outsiders, or ensuring that a healthcare network isn't leaking confidential data. Security isn't just a technical issue, it's a leadership issue. Leaders must ask, are we protecting our citizens' data? Are our systems resilient in case of cyber attacks? Do we have plans in place if something goes wrong? The role of cryptography. Now, let's talk about cryptography. This is the science of keeping information secret and secure. You can think of it like locking a message in a box, and only the person with the right key can open it. One of the most common real-world examples of cryptography is encryption. Encryption takes readable data, called plaintext, and turns it into unreadable data, called ciphertext. Only someone with the right key can turn it back into something useful. You've probably seen encryption at work in everyday life. For example, when you visit a secure website, one that starts with HTTPS, you're using encryption. This ensures that no one can spy on the information exchanged between your browser and the website. In public life, encryption is critical for things like secure messaging between officials, confidential tax records and medical files, national security communications, voting systems and election data, whistleblower protection and confidential reporting tools. Without encryption, all of these could be exposed or manipulated. Case study: online voting. Let's take a real-world example: online voting. Some countries and regions have experimented with voting by phone or internet. The promise is clear, it's convenient, fast, and could increase voter turnout. But the risks are equally important to consider. With voting, the stakes are high. You need to ensure privacy so nobody knows how a person voted. You need integrity so that votes cannot be changed. And you need authenticity so only eligible voters can cast a vote. Cryptography makes all of this possible. For example, it can be used to secure the identity of each voter, ensure votes are encrypted during transmission, verify that votes haven't been altered, Allow anonymous vote counting without linking votes to names. While paper ballots are still the most common method, cryptographic voting systems are under serious study in many countries, including for use in military or overseas voting. For any politician, understanding these tools is essential when evaluating election integrity reforms. Case study: digital IDs and public services. Another important application of cryptography is in digital identity systems. Some governments have adopted national ID cards with built-in chips. These cards often store encrypted information and are used to access healthcare, file taxes, and verify identity in online services. For example, Estonia's e-residency and digital ID system allows citizens to access nearly all government services online, safely and securely. Cryptography ensures that identities cannot be forged and that every transaction can be verified as authentic. For policymakers, this means that adopting secure digital ID systems can improve efficiency and reduce fraud. But it also raises questions about privacy, data control, and surveillance, which must be handled with transparency and care. Case study: financial transactions and blockchain. Cryptography is also the backbone of modern digital payments, from mobile banking to contactless credit cards. Every time you make a payment, cryptographic protocols confirm your identity and ensure that no one is altering the transaction data. More recently, blockchain technology, which also uses cryptography, has gained attention. A blockchain is a decentralized digital ledger that records transactions in a way that cannot be altered. This technology underpins cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, but also has other applications like transparent public records, land registration systems, supply chain tracking, fraud-resistant public grants and contracts. Though still emerging, blockchain has potential for governments to improve transparency, traceability, and trust in public services. But it also requires clear regulation and technical understanding. The human factor. Up to this point, we've talked about encryption, secure systems, and digital identity. But even the best security systems can fail if people are not trained to use them properly. Many cyber attacks succeed not by breaking encryption, but by tricking people. This includes clicking on fake links, entering passwords on look-alike websites, sending sensitive files without checking the recipient. This is why cybersecurity awareness training is just as important as the technology itself. Governments are now including mandatory training for civil servants and public sector workers to reduce the risk of human error. For example, in many countries, employees now receive simulated phishing emails. If they click, they are redirected to a training module. The goal isn't to punish, but to prepare. Policy implications for politicians. So, what does all of this mean for your role as a policymaker or public official? First, it means that basic digital literacy is no longer optional. You don't need to be a programmer, but you should understand what encryption is, what risks exist, and what protections are possible. Second, it means allocating budgets wisely. Investing in cybersecurity and cryptographic tools is not just an IT issue, it's a public safety issue. Data breaches cost governments time, trust, and public money. Third, it means being able to communicate with the public. Citizens want to know that their data is protected. They want to know their vote counts. And they want their online interactions with government to be safe. Clear communication builds trust. Fourth, it means understanding regulatory frameworks. As data becomes more valuable and more vulnerable, governments must create laws that protect privacy without stifling innovation. Final thoughts. Let's wrap up by returning to the big picture. Cryptography and cybersecurity are not just the concern of engineers or technicians. They are central to how modern societies function. From voting and identity to health records and public trust, these systems enable the services citizens rely on every day. The future of democracy, economic resilience, and national security will depend not only on advanced technology but also on informed leadership. Your role as a politician is to ensure that systems are safe, rights are protected, and decisions are guided by both ethics and evidence. In our next lessons, we'll continue building this foundation by exploring how large-scale AI systems, like the one you're interacting with now, operate, and how public leaders can use them responsibly. Thank you for your time, your curiosity, and your commitment to public service. Stay alert, stay informed, and stay secure.